We'll go ahead and get started. So thanks everyone for joining us for this month's public image training session for Rotary District 5810, North Texas, as part of Rotary, our cool technology with that in the background. And so we're going to jump right in. The general format of these sessions is to go over some key points, allow for some Q&A, and if there are any particular questions from clubs, districts, anyone in particular, then happy to tackle those on a one-on-one basis. And basically, we are trying to give big picture in a really quick time, give you some things to think about and to apply to your individual situation. And with that, I'll go ahead and share screen and we can get going. And just for clarification, we are recording the session for everyone's knowledge. All right. So the big thing to remember is that with everything that I'm about to say, that quality matters more than quantity. We're not just trying to fill numbers. We are looking for people who truly have a heart for service. So we just want to make sure that everything else that's said is against that backdrop. Quality, not quantity. But as we look at this, we need to be thinking about timing, cost, commitment. If we encounter people with that heart for service, but who have hesitations around those issues, we have flexibility. We can work with that. If they're a Rotarian in their heart and we know it, then let's not end the conversation. We can find ways to work with that. But we really do want to make sure that the people that we are going through this effort for, that they are people who are living by the four-way test and truly do have that heart for service. Those are non-negotiable. So with those preconditions in mind, we want to make sure, point number 2, that we are following up on all leads. It's heartbreaking when we learn that someone has reached out to Rotary International on their website, on a district website, on a club website, and nobody does anything. So really ask that everyone make a commitment to follow up on those leads. We're fortunate in District 5810 that our current district membership chair, Ian Sullivan, is being extremely proactive and thorough on following up and on coaching people on following up on the leads that do come to us through Rotary International or the district, and sure would be happy to work with anyone on leads that might be coming in through your website or social media. And that's a point that I do want to also emphasize is a lot of times people have added forms, say, to their website years ago. Nobody really knows where those leads go. Is the person even in the club anymore? So this is a good opportunity to do an audit and check and see, are there forms on your website? Are there posted email addresses on your website? Where do those go? Are those people members? Are they actively monitoring those accounts? So we want to go through and check that. Another thing to really make sure is that Facebook Messenger is extremely popular these days for people to reach out, express interest in becoming a member, get information about your events. So make sure that someone is actively monitoring that channel as well, and set some sort of protocol of a timeline, 2 hours, 24 hours, 2 days max for someone to respond. So it's really important if people do express that interest that we respond promptly. So point number 3, okay, what are they actually interested in? So we want to make sure that we have a clear value proposition. And Rotary International has actually taken care of the heavy lifting with that, with the mission vision statement of together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. So it's a mouthful, but if we get people to internalize that message, we have something that we can actually share with people to really close the deal, if you will, and make sure that they understand what they're committing to and really see the value of that commitment. In addition, we want to have a unique selling point for our individual clubs. We are in 5810 working on a survey that will hopefully help with that and create some resource materials to further amplify that message. But you really want everyone in the club to be able to just knee-jerk reaction. Someone asks, well, tell me about Rotary, or tell me about your club, to be able to just instantly fall into that conversation and make sure that we're emphasizing our impact and benefits, not just features, because it's that impact, it's that emotional connection that will keep someone engaged and eventually potentially join. We want to be really specific and intentional with our recruiting and not just random. So again, we know that we're recruiting for quality, not quantity. I'd like to share a story that was one of those V8 moments for me. Was talking to a friend years ago who was in a sorority, and she just casually mentioned how she was recruited because they knew that she would be a good president for their sorority. She was recruited intentionally for a need they saw 3 years later. And it was one of those moments when it's like, that is so obvious, can't believe I didn't think about that. But it really just made it so tangible. If we in our clubs know what leadership positions we're going to need to fill, what support positions like public image that we might need to fill, then we can really, instead of being passive and waiting for people to come to us, we can say, look, we need someone who knows how to do social media. We need someone who knows how to maintain a website. Go to a marketing agency. See if they might be a good fit. Be intentional. If we want to get local media coverage, is the editor of the paper in your club? What about if we need good social media imagery? Is there a photographer in town? Be intentional. Know what the needs are within your club. Recruit to fill those positions. This is not to say exclusive, but instead of just being passive, be intentional with that recruiting. Similar for other roles, whether it's like a treasurer, again, your presidents, different, do you need someone who does catering? Be intentional about your recruiting. In classifications, while officially we've stepped back from those requirements, Rotary International President Mark Maloney is actually encouraging us to take a fresh look in this same sort of mindset. So it really can help us have a balanced club. And boards of directors, I remember learning, really always want to have a mix of people who have the time, who have the money, and have the contacts. So as we're also looking to flesh out our clubs for a really healthy club that is sustainable, then that's something to be looking at as well as we're looking to build out our membership. Just also keep in mind as a little asterisk there, though, that it could be that even though we've recruited someone to do website maintenance, they might be completely in on being Rotary and having it be a huge part of their lives, but they might not want to do your website. So create openings and be flexible if that is the case. We're not only marketing externally, but we need to market internally. And if we even think of it as sort of a coach who helps map out the game plan and keeps us on track, offers course corrections, all of that. In marketing, there's a fundamental rule of the 7 touches. It takes 7 touches before someone is ready to hear your message. After those 7 exposures of a consistent message, they'll be like, I think I've heard of you. Now what do you do? And to those of us who have been speaking about it and posting about it and sharing and emailing and all of this, we're like, how did you not get the message? But people are busy. People are just hit with so many different messages. People have so many responsibilities. It just takes that consistency. As a side note, that's why there is so much encouragement for everyone to use the correct Rotary logo, because if we all use the same one, we reach those 7 touches that much more quickly. So then when we have those one-on-one conversations, they're already primed on that message. When we're not using a consistent master brand, then it's like starting over each and every time. So we're helping everyone in Rotary reach their 7 touches that much more quickly when we're using the correct logo. We want to develop talking points and potentially even do practice dialogues at meetings, which could also help members get to know one another better. But we're wanting to also train people not only how to talk about Rotary and how to talk about your individual club, but also how to listen for potential interest. What are comments people might say in day-to-day dialogue, in work conversations that can have your radar go, ooh, wait, they might be a good Rotarian, and to introduce the conversation. So we want to practice with people so they're really comfortable moving forward and just really feel like it's okay to talk about Rotary. And then to also be coaching everyone on the process if someone is interested, to keep it personal, how to submit for membership, how to have those explanations of, okay, they are interested, what is this going to look like? Manage people's expectations. In addition to manage their expectations and to facilitate the communication, someone's interested, you've had this conversation, but maybe it's not for your club. How do we make sure we don't lose that interest? Someone's out of state, in a different town. We will just want to make sure that we don't lose any of those leads that our members might stir up for others. And as a hint, you can always get those to the district membership chair, and I am fairly positive that he will make sure something moves forward with that. Next point would like to share is this idea of building momentum. So similar to that 7 touches, if we have just one reference, it's hard to really get that message and momentum around that enthusiasm. But if we pick a point, for example, each month to feature and be encouraging everyone in our clubs to be really focused on, say, this area of focus or this fundraiser or event, then we're building those 7 touches around that. But there's more than just Rotary in the abstract. It gets a bit more concrete, a bit more tangible. This is one of those places where we want to make sure that we really are bringing in emotion. People make decisions based on emotion, so we don't want to be just all facts and figures. We want to talk about those personal connections, those human interest stories, where we were changed by having been involved in making a change in someone else's life. So try to have some consistent nuance, some consistent point that you work into member conversations, that get worked into the weekly meetings, that appear in your social media posts. We want to do this to build emotion, and it helps keep the messaging fresh while still having a consistent Rotary changes the world. Simon Sinek, most people are familiar, and it's this whole question of why. So we are going to be working in 5810 on a campaign, Why I'm a Rotarian, and it goes beyond the Rotary moment. It's sort of that bigger picture of local, regional, international, and it's really highlighting Rotary as people of action. That's the ultimate why, because it's energy to get people to stop complaining and actually do something, be part of the change they want to see in the world. And you're not just left trying to do it yourself. You are part of 1.2 million people around the globe who are not waiting for they or someone else. They are the they. We are the they. And when you look at the numbers on Rotary Showcase, this is just such a small percentage of the Rotarians and clubs who have actually been making this difference in the world. So many hours, so many people, so many generous contributions that we really are making a huge difference in the world. Work this into your website, work it into social media posts. This is something tangible that also helps reflect one of our areas of focus of peace and conflict resolution. While everyone else on Facebook might be battling about this and insulting that, we're making a difference and bringing a united picture, a united world through the work that we do. For people of action, this is this intentional campaign that we have, and you want to be telling a story with the photos that you do, but there's this really terrific app you can use, poaphotos.com. Encourage you to add it onto your phone. So when you're in the field and you're doing those action shots, you can actually take the photo, add the People of Action overlay campaign or the master brand, and be sharing it straight from your smartphone while in the field. Fundamentally, the world is looking for people who actually don't just talk. We're all kind of tired of the talking heads. But when we share these photos, it's compelling, it's legit, it's showing really the impact that we're having. And again, we don't want just people smiling at the photo, smiling at the camera, arms around, all in a line. Try to capture the story, tell the story to where people can imagine and see, wow, by doing this, this child will not be getting polio. Wow, people will finally have mobility. Tell that story, make that emotional connection in the imagery that we choose, because that's what people are looking to join. Think about influencers and make sure that you have a target list. So within the world of marketing, we are very huge on this whole idea of influencer marketing. If you've ever heard of something called Instagram, it's built almost entirely around influencer marketing. And it's the idea that there are certain people who have distribution. So if we get our message to them, they can broadcast it to many others. And so it won't just be making them aware, but it has this implied endorsement that, oh, they believe in this, so I want to be like them, so let me do it too. So we want to try to find within our communities who are those influencers. So if we think classic high school lifetime ago, that the cheerleaders were influencers. If you got the cheerleaders, you got the football team and the basketball team and probably the baseball team and the soccer team. You know, if you can get the people who are those influencers, then you gain reach to an influence onto others. So as we're building our target list, let's think about some of those influencers who might then also attract others. So giving a modern example, what if your club does, for example, a 5K run as a fundraiser? Well, are there influential runners who might be good members for your club? So again, quality over quantity, but it might be a way of just thinking about who you want to really target, and are there sub-influencers who might help you get in front of other people who would support the projects, the events, etc., that we're doing. So we start with that, but a really important piece that I think a lot of clubs are not as strict around is having an actual sales process. And as distasteful as some people might find it, calling it that, it is a sales process. We are asking people to use their time, which is actually their most valuable asset, to be a Rotarian. And so we want to be respectful, we want to be consistent. A lot of times it's, with all of us being so busy, it's easy to get that lead, maybe have an initial conversation. Okay, we left them an email, we left them a voicemail, and that's where the process kind of dies. So we want to really have a defined sales pipeline and be tracking. Does it usually take 2 lunches, 1 service project, 4 interviews, do the invitation, and 3 weeks later they're installed? Or does it take 5 meetings, 2 calls? What does it look like for your club? Have that process defined. Who owns which stage of the process? And can you report on it? Figure out how you can segment. Or is it better for someone in this industry to talk to someone else who's in that same industry? Is it someone in a similar life stage of young parents, talk to other young parents? Be very specific on your process. And then also use a CRM, a customer relationship management tool. HubSpot has a free one, free, F-R-E-E, free. And one of the things that you can get with that free CRM is a sales pipeline. So you can define what those stages are, so you can track people throughout the process and be really monitoring and making sure that you're staying on top. of who needs to follow up with whom. It can show you potential pipeline. Okay, how do you get people in? With this free CRM, you can create a form. So not only on your website have people that externally are coming to your website and saying, hey, yeah, I'd like to learn more about Rotary and plug it in. Your own members can record people they're talking to, the people in their networks that they think would be good Rotarians, have them fill out the form, and then they're in the process, and you have this pool of people rather than, oh, well, yeah, I really should talk to Aunt Shirley, and it just never going anywhere. You can just easily and free bring this all into the process and then just make sure you're working the plan. As part of this, make sure you're also thinking what happens. Okay, they get approved, they get installed. Do you have an onboarding and retention plan? We don't want to just have someone in and then set it and forget it, because that's a horrible experience. That's not what we want people to think about Rotary. So make sure as you're building that plan, you also have, once they've been installed, who is staying in touch and making sure that they're fully integrated into your club. And so would recommend a minimum of 6 months, actually prefer about 18 months. Make sure they always feel like the most important person in the room. And the final recommendation on this point would to be check out myrotary.org. If you go under the Member Center and References and Resources, there's a section for membership, and there's some really wonderful tools and resources within there. One last bonus point, would like to make sure the low-hanging fruit. We do so much in the community as Rotarians. We give scholarships, we have youth exchange, we have Rotaract, we have so many different opportunities that we engage and create this positive and interaction with the community. Why aren't we going after them as potential Rotarians? Again, a lot of times we leave it random. We're not intentional. We don't have a specific plan. Maybe we start easy and we plan one event. Is it a happy hour? Is it a picnic? Is it a trip to the museum? Whatever it might be. But start with one event that is for all of these friends of Rotary, and bring them together, have the chance for them to network and mingle, get them sharing stories about how they've gotten connected to Rotary, and have that, call if anyone's interested in joining, sign here, and then start your process. So it's a great place, and at least at a minimum, we have an annual time that we're bringing and reconnecting with these people. If you're already on top of that, then consider having additional levels. Is it that you have someone in your club who's a liaison for all the high school scholarship recipients and their families? So then when you have your event, or you have your fundraisers, you have open meetings, then that individual will make sure to keep those individuals informed. Hey, we've got this fundraiser coming up. I was hoping you might be willing to take part. Please contact me. I'd love to reconnect with you at the event, to, again, try to keep that personal connection. But these are people who've already been positively impacted by Rotary. We should keep nurturing them. To also, when we think about Rotaract as a side note, it's really for them to self-determine if Rotaract, Rotary, or dual membership is best for them. And more than age, it's really going to likely be around a life stage. Are they just starting in their career? Are they getting married and raising kids? There will be a number of different factors. So just to kind of keep in mind that it's not necessarily just, oh, they're young, they're this age, they should be in Rotaract, not Rotary. It may differ by individual, so we just want to be flexible and open and really supportive of what's best for them. So lots of ideas, right in a quick fury to get those out, but was wondering if there were any questions, comments, recommendations. Floor is yours. Great. Well, we will go ahead then and wrap it up. We will have another one of these public image trainings next month, and it will be on September 30th at 6 p.m. Central, and it will be about marketing your fundraisers. So fun stuff coming up, but thank you so much for your time, and we'll go ahead and say goodbye. Thanks so much. Have a good night.